I've been seeing your show. Give me things that I wanted to know. Tell me things that you've done. I've been feeling old, I've been feeling good. You're the heat that I know. Listen, you are my sun. I said there's more to life than drugs. Not gonna leave this place with us. Drop the game, it's not enough. I said there's more to life than drugs. Not gonna leave this place with us. Drop the game, it's not enough. I said there's more to life than drugs. Not gonna leave this place with us. Drop the game, it's not enough. I'm just seeing all I'm seeing your show. Not gonna leave this place that I wanted to know. The game, it's things that I'm chasing all more life than love. Not gonna leave this place that I know. Drop the game, it's not enough. I'm chasing there's more to life than drugs. Not gonna leave this place with us. Drop the game, it's not enough. Said there's more to life than drugs. Not gonna leave this place with us. Drop the game, it's not enough.
Hello, Algonquin College! It's really nice to start to see everybody again. For those of you that don't know me, hi. My name is Danielle Allard. I'm one of you. I'm repping my Algonquin College t-shirt today. And I'm just doing a little bit of live looping to hopefully help de-stress you as we're getting back into things. I am a teacher in media and design, and it's been really fun trying to figure out how to do all of this through Zoom. So I hope that you're enjoying yourself so far. I'm going to do an original song called Island now. Well, I can't live alone, I
he's holding out hearts, they won't go up. They say, oh, Nike should be an island, you know, being up on the sand. I say, you'll get hurt, run away and why did I feel empty? Well, like you live alone, Nike, whoa, you know, being up on the sand. If you'll get hurt, run away. Well, he's holding out hearts, they won't go up. Well, like you.
And that was just a song about how much we really genuinely do need each other. So I'm super happy to see so many people in today's town hall. And thanks so much to the events team and to everybody for having me today.
Well, and thank you, Danielle. That was truly wonderful. That's and you were right. I felt the stress levels diminishing, and much appreciated. What a wonderful way to start this town hall. The musical interlude is a new addition to our town halls, and if we can get you coming back, I think we'll continue to do that. But welcome everybody. Welcome to our August town hall. My name is Chris Jansen. I will be emceeing the show today. I see folks are still starting to trickle in, but it is right at 2 o'clock. Why don't we, give it a 10 count here and watch the numbers crop up. But if you would please just go to the next slide. Very good. We'll just hold on this for just a few moments to let folks absorb this. Let a few more come in. We're up to 313 participants. This is great. All right. Well, let me go ahead and get the introductions done with today. Let me start with today's panelists. As I said, I'm Chris Jansen, Senior Vice President Academic, and delighted to be emceeing today. Looking forward to a good town hall. Lots of questions. Pardon the quacking in the background. That's just letting me know that our last panelist was actually able to join after a little bit of tech issues. So I think I'll move it over to our president, Claude Brulé, to let him introduce himself.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon and welcome. I'll have more introduction later, but I'm Claude and I'm your president.
Hello, everyone. My name is Maureen Costella. I'm manager of total compensation, and I'm here acting as a panelist if any questions or any information comes my way.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark Savinkoff. I'm your Vice President of Advancement, overseeing our fundraising, alumni, and external relations outreach efforts. Hi.
I've already introduced myself, Colin. It's over to you.
I thought I would wait. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Colin Bonang. I'm Director of Risk Management.
Good afternoon. I'm Erin Langevin. I'm here to support the HR team. I'm the Director of Employee and Labor Relations.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dwayne McNair. I'm the Vice President, Finance and Administration.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Laura Stambra, and once my photo comes up, I don't know if I'm a little delayed in my syncing opportunities here. I'm Vice President of Student Services. So, Dwayne, I don't know, can you see me on the screen or I can still see you?
Yeah, we can see you. We can see you, Laura.
Thank you. Technical, learning the technology. Thanks.
No worries. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. And a special thank you to Danielle. That was an absolutely wonderful opening. My name is Diane McCutcheon, and I'm your Vice President of Human Resources.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark Leduc. I'm the Executive Director, Academic Operations and Planning.
Segu Agwegu, Digana Dasan Niengets. What I said was, greetings, everyone. My traditional name is Digana Dasa. I'm a Turtle Clan from the Oneida Nation of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. And it is my pleasure, my English name is Ron McLester, and it is my pleasure to serve as the Vice President Truth, Reconciliation, and Indigenization here at Algonquin College. And so with that, Chris, is it good to go right on to the opening?
Nope, not just yet. I'm afraid I have a little bit of the housekeeping details that I need to take care of. But thanks, Ron. And you know that was pretty good. We didn't rehearse that. That was something we just added this morning as to how we were going to do those introductions, and it flowed quite well. So the agenda for today, short and sweet. The welcome, introduction of panel members, housekeeping. Really, we're trying to keep the presentations to a minimal part of the town hall today. So I'll be giving an update, a little bit of an update around the fall term startup and plans for winter. With an enrollment update, we'll get an AC Day 1 update from Laura Stanbra and employee support update from Diane McCutcheon. Trying to keep that short to keep most of the time available for questions. We do have a small number of pre-submitted questions that I will talk us through first, and then we'll move into live questions followed by a closing. Again, fairly simple, fairly straightforward, but really trying to keep most of our time available to answer your questions. So the housekeeping details, if you've got any technical questions or concerns, please use the chat box to reach out to the events team, and they will try to talk you through what the challenge is and get a solution for the problem. You will notice that we're using the webinar tool today instead of a regular room meeting. So you can only see the faces of the presenters. However, the webinar allows us to have an access to a larger audience that we need for events such as the town halls. And I see we're up to 432 attendees. Fabulous. And that just wouldn't be possible with a regular Zoom meeting. I do note that the closed caption option is available by clicking the closed caption button on the main toolbar, which at least on my version is at the bottom of the screen. And again, if you wish to use the closed caption and it's not working, put a note quick into the chat box, and the support team will try to get that resolved. And then questions. Our process for questions. We are continually trying to improve how questions get asked and answered. And so we listened to the feedback very carefully from previous meetings. So we're going to try something slightly different this time. Questions will happen at the end of the presentations. So please hold any questions you have until that portion of the town hall after the presentations. There will be a mix of pre-submitted questions and live questions. So I will read the pre-submitted questions and an ASET member will answer. But for those live questions, employees now have the opportunity to ask a voice question. Much like it would be for a regular town hall where we all back on campus face to face. We are going to use the raise hand feature. So under the participants window, there's that little blue hand that you can use to raise your hand. And if you raise your hand, I will then call on you and give you the opportunity to ask your question. You are all muted right now just to minimize on background noise, and the event staff, when it's your turn to ask the question, when I acknowledge you, will unmute you. So you do not need to unmute yourself. The events team will do that. We also note that we regularly tend to have more questions than we have time to answer. So at the end of live questions, if you have not had a chance to ask your question, please type them into the question and answer box, not the chat box, the Q&A box. For ASET to post an answer to. And I'll prompt you to do this as we're getting close to the end. I also note that within the Q&A, it's possible to post an anonymous question. If you're watching through so that's the process for questions this time around. Stick your little blue hand up. Keep it up. If you put it up, turn it off, and put it back up, it puts you back at the bottom of the line for asking the question. So the questions will be answered in the order that those hands go up. But please, please, please wait until the end of the presentations before you start sticking your hands up to give everybody an equal opportunity to ask a question. And finally, if you're watching through the live stream link on YouTube, if you have a question that you'd like to ask, submit your question in the chat, and Sophia from the events team will get them to me. All right, so those are the little bit of housekeeping. I'm not seeing anything else at this point, so I will be happy to turn this over to Ron to kick off the meeting officially.
Dikana hela dangsa de yane tuadu hungwe hogu yonking ha ohunja. Unkwa tugu oyonko oji daha su wela su asina dikanda nande new hunde sawahi. Oyonkwa tugu oyonko ladi sigalian days. Yonki soto what nail da skanya de leon singwa dizo daneto. So that's a really, really quick way of not doing the half-hour version of the Thanksgiving address, the first ceremony that my people were given by Singwai Adizu, the creator. And basically what that does is remind us that everything in creation has traditional instructions and that we put our minds together to thank each and every one of them for continuing to live and honor those sacred instructions. We bundle those thank yous together, we throw them in the four directions, and we say that our minds are one. So Yawango, thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you very much. And now I'll turn it over to our president and fearless leader, Claude Brulé, for his opening comments.
Thanks, Chris. Fearless. I love that. Thank you, Ron, for your Indigenous opening. Thank you, Chris, for, I think you were voluntold, but anyway, thank you for volunteering to be our MC today. Doing a fabulous job. Keep it up. And good afternoon, everyone. Bonjour, Kwe. This is our first town hall we're hosting since, I guess, our post Board of Governors event that we held, I think, back on July 14th. So it's really great to see you in such numbers. I think we're up to 456 attendees. Well done. I'm really delighted to welcome back all those of you who've been away for a while and are now returning to work. And I also want to show my appreciation by thanking those of you who've been here for the past couple of months, either maintaining our essential operations, planning and preparing for our fall term, or perhaps delivering programming either remotely or as part of our July pilot or our August teach outs. Thank you. You've all done an amazing job to get us where we are today. I've had the chance to be on campus a couple of times, and I've met some of our employees in the hallways. I've also had a number of virtual meetings with various groups and with our Students Association. In fact, as recently as this morning, where we hosted a get-together between our leadership team and our SA board. What I want to say is that through it all, I continue to be amazed by your resiliency and by our learners' adaptability, by the creativity and the innovation that you share with me, and that goes on to ensure the high quality and the excellence in all that we do, so that at the end of the day, our students have as great a college experience as we can make it during these challenging times that we live in. This morning, we had the pleasure to host Premier Ford at our Ottawa campus, and he toured our ACE building with his colleagues, Minister Lisa MacLeod and our own MPP, Jeremy Roberts. As you know, he's a big supporter of the trades, and it was really great to see him interact with our faculty, with our staff, and our students. And it wasn't lost on him. You know, he was amazed too by what he saw in our ability to safely deliver education, training, and hands-on instruction as we recover slowly from the pandemic. And as we continue to produce the talented graduates that will help support our economy and our communities. So this visit also gave me an opportunity, of course, to chit-chat with the Premier and his entourage, and I had the opportunity to advocate for more support for the college from the province, and to continue to advocate for our next big major capital project, our Ottawa Campus of Care. I know you probably know it as HLE Phase 2 or some other interim name that we've had, but we've now settled on Ottawa Campus of Care. This was really an initiative that was well received by the Premier. And so who knows, we may hear something in the future on this. As we finalize our last minute detail for our fall term, and yes, there are lots of details, I want to assure everyone that we're doing so in a coordinated and a consultative manner. And we're really keeping at the forefront our two primary goals: ensuring the health and safety of our employees and learners, number one, and two, seeing to the continuity of the learning process and academic activity whenever possible. So finally, in closing, I want to acknowledge everyone's effort as we continue to be vigilant and remain safe and healthy. So I want to thank you, everyone, for all that you do. And with that, Chris, I will turn it back to you to continue with our afternoon's program. Chris?
All right, very good, Claude. Thank you. I am now ready to start a brief presentation around an update on the start of the fall term. So if we go to the next slide, just to remind folks a little bit, a bit of the journey that we've had. Way back in May, at another town hall, you've seen this slide before. This was cut and paste from the presentation I gave in the May town hall, talking about what the fall would look like. And so here was the framework that we endorsed. All activities that can be delivered remotely should be planned to be offered remotely, subject to regulatory body requirements. Face-to-face activities should be planned with appropriate physical distancing and controls. The fall term academic key dates and associated deadlines remained as planned. And the program teams of faculty, the technicians and technologists, the chairs, the deans, the whole team would work together to figure out how we're going to be able to offer our programs in a safe way that gives our students a high quality learning experience that will allow them to continue through their education. And recognize that the requirements of COVID are going to change some resource requirements, both in terms of space, in terms of staffing, in terms of a wide variety of different things. So if we could go to the next slide, please. That was back in May. And now here we are. AC Day 1 is less than 2 weeks away. I don't know what happened. I blinked. I think I slept twice between May and now, and here we are, just a short period of time away. And I'm being facetious. It's just been very, very busy, very hectic, very chaotic. And that last word, chaotic, is really true. It's been a difficult time. We know a lot more now than we did back in May. We are now in stage 3 of the provincial reopening. And we have begun to become, I was going to say comfortable, but at least used to life under COVID. The masks, although I did manage, I'm in the office today, so I could have, well, because I was part of Premier Ford's visit, but also so I'd have good enough internet to turn my video on so I could MC the town hall today. And the idiot boy managed to leave the house this morning without his mask. So I had to borrow one of the lovely disposable masks at the front door. We're still, we're still getting used to this. So much work has gone into getting ready. Faculty have been diligently working on further adapting courses for a remote delivery. We have under the minister's direction and guidelines. We ran a small pilot starting in early July to begin to bring a few students back to selected programs on campus to be able to complete their winter terms. And based on the lessons learned from that, and by all intents and purposes, it was a highly successful pilot. We scaled up a little bit more for August teach outs. Again, more of the students that were stranded from the winter term, as well as completion of spring term, because you may recall that we started the spring term plan thinking that we might be back face-to-face by mid-July. Well, that didn't happen, so there were a number of other students that were negatively impacted, at least in the plans of a normal end to the spring term. So all of those lessons learned have been worked on, diligently paid attention to, and through the excellent leadership of Colin Bonang and his whole team of the COVID response team, really have developed a significant body of work on guidelines, on regulations, on rules, on how to go about business on campus. Let me reiterate that we are still not out of the pandemic. We are not at life as normal. We are simply getting used to life in the pandemic. So we are still, in order to keep in order to keep all of our employees and our students as safe as possible, we still need to minimize the activity that happens on campus this fall. So we're saying that if it doesn't need to happen on campus, please don't do it on campus. Please be remote. And that's one of the things that I wish to just reiterate over and over. This is what we need to do. Each individual needs to take some active part in keeping our colleagues and our learners safe. What you can do is maintain good hand hygiene, wash your hands frequently, use hand sanitizer in between frequent washes, proper face etiquette, wear the mask. If you need to cough or need to sneeze, don't count on just the mask. Tuck your arm and tuck your face into your arm. Be cognizant that we have a responsibility to keep those around us safe as well. And so I don't have a lot of time today. I don't want to go into great and gory detail of every plan that we have in place for the fall. I would point you to the August 20 communique that I sent out. When these slides are made available, and I'm anticipating that they will be at the end of this, that's a live link. So when you open that PowerPoint, you can click on that and it will take you right to that communique, which has links embedded in that to a wide variety of resources that will help describe the expectations, the procedures, the precautions that are in place, as well as all of the supports that are necessary. I'd also like to remind folks that the fall term, we spend a lot of time talking about the return to campus, but the fall term is not just about that face-to-face instruction. Fully 2/3 of our students that will be studying with us this fall will be done completely remotely without ever needing to come to campus for instruction. We still have a strong responsibility to all of our students, not just those that are face-to-face, to ensure that we are doing everything that we can to provide a high quality education and experience for these students. And so to that end, I'd also like to remind particularly faculty that the Learning and Teaching Services Group has been doing a phenomenal job of developing support, professional development workshops, answering individual questions. They have a remarkable team that has been working very hard all summer. They regularly post new opportunities for professional development, for learning opportunities, even if you will. And I do know, and they'll probably come kick me in the shins later for saying this, but they've also been known to take individual requests one day and in a very short order, within a day or two, say, that's a good idea. Perhaps let's develop a quick lesson on that. And later that same week, sometimes you'll find that there's a new opportunity to learn and to get a question answered. So please don't hesitate to rely heavily on the learning and teaching services folks. They're doing a fabulous bang up job. And so if you could flip to the next slide, please. I know I'm talking quickly, but looking forward to the winter term, I know this has been a question that's been weighing on many people's minds, because it really is time to turn our attention to how are we going to deal with winter 21. And I just remind folks that there's still a lot that we don't know. We don't know when a vaccine will be available. We don't know how effective that vaccine will be, and we don't know if it's effective, how long it will remain effective. So many different questions. So even though we're in a stage 3 reopening, it is unrealistic to expect that we are going to be back to life pre-COVID by the winter. And so the executive team just this morning had a long discussion around this topic, and we've decided that as per the fall term, the planning ought to be based on more or less the same principles that we used to plan for the fall term. In other words, the winter is going to operate under the same guidelines as the fall did. All activities that can be delivered remotely, we should be starting to plan them now as if they're going to be remote. I should point out that yes, there is some hope. There is a lot that is unknown, and things are going to change. And that the college will adapt its plans and adapt its approach as things change. And should a miracle occur, and we find ourselves able to return to substantially more face-to-face instruction on campus than we are anticipating, it's a whole lot easier to revert to that which we are comfortable doing and we know how to do, than it is to last minute say, oh, we're not going to be able to do face-to-face, let's figure out how to do this all remotely. So we are going to be planning for everything that can be remote to be remote, with the caveat that yes, we're in stage 3 recovery and there are certain things that change, and we will be taking those changes into account as we develop those plans. So really, that's the update for the fall. That's the look forward to the winter. I'm sure you'll have lots of questions for us later during the town hall, but at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Mark Leduc to give a brief update on what the enrollment will look like for this fall. So, Mark.
Great. Thanks very much, Chris. Good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to take a couple of minutes to give a quick update on fall 2020 enrollment in terms of how we're progressing compared to our Q1 targets. Just to orient you on the slide that you're seeing on the screen right now, at the top, we have the number of registered students as of yesterday, so very current information. Then there's a status indicator next to it to show how that is, where we think that's going to land compared to the Q1 targets. So of course, a green circle is good. A red diamond, of course, is where there's a little bit of risk there. And then where we currently are as a percentage of that Q1 target. And then we just go through in terms of new students, returning students, and overall college enrollment. So if you look at domestic, what we're calling new students or level 1 students, right now we're showing a green status. We're pretty confident that we're going to achieve our Q1 target. When we look at international level 1 student target, right now we're showing that as a red indicator. Most likely we will not achieve the target that was projected in Q1, but the improvement that we're seeing in international returning students will most likely offset any shortfall. So that will be compensated between those two lines. Returning students domestic are progressing very well. So we see that as being on track. And then if we go down to total enrollment, if we look at both domestic and international, both showing a green status as well as overall, we should be landing at our 18,000 Q1 target that we have at this point in time. Keeping in mind, though, that there is a few more weeks to go in the enrollment cycle. So there could be some ups and downs as we go through that. But right now, we're cautiously optimistic that we're on track to our Q1 target. I'll turn it back to you, Chris.
Thank you, Mark. And with that, I'll turn it over to Laura, recognizing that, yes, I'm sorry, we're a little bit behind.
Thanks, Chris. Okay, I'm going to try and catch us up. I know people are really looking forward to the Q&A, so this will be a really high-level, quick view, but with resources of where you can go if you want to find out more information. So yeah, it's all about being virtual, including AC Day 1. So on the Ottawa campus, classes for fall programs that are scheduled to start on September 8th have, as per our tradition, been suspended on that particular day so that students can join their scheduled program orientation and attend also virtual AC Day 1 social activities. On the Perth campus, new learners will join a virtual AC Day 1 welcome ceremony on the morning of September 8th, and they will hear from Dean Hahn, and they will attend their program orientation. And then classes will resume at 11 a.m. in whatever modality that they are in. And learners can take part in virtual AC Day 1 support and social activities based on their timetable. And if you have any questions regarding our Perth campus orientation, please contact Jennifer Burke. And then for Pembroke campus, they're the first out of the gates. So their orientation is Thursday, September 3rd and Friday, September 4th. Their new students will join their professors and classmates for scheduled program orientation. And then the learners will be encouraged to connect online with these social and support activities. And for any questions about our Pembroke orientation, please connect with Jody Schultz, and I'm sorry, Jody, if I'm pronouncing your last name incorrectly. It's Bucholtz. If we can just go to the next slide, please. So as we know, virtual program orientation is such an important opportunity for our students to learn about their programs and engage with their professors and their classmates. So here is just a reminder that please, if you have questions or uncertain what's happening at this point, to reach out to our program coordinator, Melissa Stadden, for questions regarding that particular program orientation. Next slide, please. So virtual AC Day 1 on September 8th is it's from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Most sessions will be recorded, and so we can add those sessions to after they've been recorded to the website for learners to access if they can't access them live. And as you can see from this slide, there'll be various support and information sessions that are hosted by a number of different departments. I do just want to take this opportunity to say a huge thank you for all of you involved in these activities. It really is a college-wide initiative, and I think more important as ever in a virtual environment. So thank you for that. And if we go to the next slide, and as you can see from the examples on this slide, there'll also be, which is really important as well, you know, particularly for mental health, there'll be social opportunities for our student to connect and learn something new, more of extracurricular activity. The day will wrap up with the Arkell's study break, and this is a virtual experience that will be interactive, and it's open to all students and employees. So I'm personally looking forward to going to that one myself. So check out any of the activities or more information on the AC Day 1 website. Also really stay tuned on MyAC. There'll be a lot of information flowing through there as well. And in terms of these types of activities, please reach out to Michelle Heavey about any questions that you may have for that. So as you can see, we have, as usual, lots planned for AC Day 1 on all our campuses in lots of different ways. And we really look forward to doing this with you, supporting our learners. And we really do have lots to look forward to for fall 2020. So thank you.
Thank you, Laura. That really is very exciting. People that know me know I'm very fond of reminding folks of how much I love this time of year. The start of a new academic year truly is exciting, even if it's virtual. We're going to make this happen. So thank you. And with that, I'll turn it over to Diane for an employee support update.
Thanks, Chris. You know, as we get ready for the fall of 2020 semester startup, I wanted to take just a few minutes to speak about the different types of employee supports that are available to all of you. So if we go to the next slide on managing your work and life responsibilities, it's Some members of our college community are navigating the daily updates that we're getting right now from our local school boards on sending your children back to kindergarten to grade 12, or perhaps you're preparing to have your child complete online learning. Others of us might be anxious and concerned about the length of time that COVID pandemic continues to stay with us and what that means as we move into the fall 2020 semester. I just wanted to remind you that please remember that individual circumstances can be raised with your manager, and then partnering with the HR Abilities and Wellness team, and if you're a unionized employer, your union representatives, accommodation requests will be reviewed and the supports that you may need will be put in place if at all possible. Going to the next slide. I also wanted to touch on the Employee Assistance Program, which is a confidential and 24/7 service. It offers online programs, on-demand resources covering a range of well-being and COVID-19 related topics, and can be accessed at workhealthlife.com. Going to the next slide, the types of on-demand resources that they're covering right now are really timely. Family and children, staying safe, impact on work, mental health and well-being, and they're offering complimentary webinars and different Facebook sessions as well. And there's a toolkit in that website link right there that also talks about a few of the other titles that they've recently added to their EAP online that you may find useful at this time. And that's coping with stress from making education decisions for your kids due to COVID-19, helping your kids adjust to go back to school after lockdown, managing expectations about the new normal. Going to the next slide, we're also offering some webinars for all of you. We'll be hosting a number of 1-hour lunch and learn webinar sessions. And our first virtual session actually was held back in June 26th, and it was on working mobile. And it was really well attended. Our next session coming up is on the importance of unplugging. And that's September 16th, 2020 from noon till 1. Going to the next slide. There are lots of different learning supports that we are going to be focusing on to provide you support and learning and development opportunities as it remains a commitment for all of our employees. We have a cross-section of learning opportunities, and we're utilizing the new employee learning platform to register you all and provide a learning space for a combination of online and virtual learning opportunities. We have micro-credentials that are offered fully online, and we will continue to offer our programs and supports to you in terms of our leadership programs, management academy, support staff academy that have been converted to a virtual experience. Our Kaleidoscope Planning Committee will continue our tradition of offering employee conference virtually this year. It's going to be held in October, and it was on my AC today. I encourage all of you to support the many learning opportunities that are available through the employee learning catalog.algonquincollege.com. I also want to give my shout out to the LTS colleagues who have been promoting all of our remote teaching supports for our faculty regularly on MyAC, and you can also access their comprehensive schedules on the LTS website. Thank you. Back to you, Chris.
All right, thank you, Diane. Much appreciated. And with that, we have come to the point in the town hall where we'll deal with the pre-submitted questions, and there are only 4 of them. So I will read the pre-submitted question so that we all understand what we're talking about here, and then hand it off to an ASET member or their designate to provide an answer. So Diane, the first one's going to be going to you. Are employee awards happening this year? I've seen the deadline extended numerous times, but no recent updates.
Great question, thank you. So the virtual event date has been set. The awards committee will be working with the events team to plan it out as it will be virtual. I think I may be stealing a little bit of their thunder on the date announcement, but we do have a save the date held for October 6th. So stay tuned on more information rolling out through MyAC. Thanks.
Thank you, Diane. The next question is one that I will field. What is the plan for the new experiential learning and innovation area? Will there be new staffing opportunities other than the associate vice president? I'm going to give a what I hope is moderately short answer to this, but it's an area that I'm quite excited about because this is intended to elevate experiential learning and work integrated learning and have a senior leader whose principal responsibility is to look after these activities. They are such a critical part of our students' learning opportunities. And so included in that area will be the Applied Research, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship department. It will be co-op. It will include the employment services. So again, to bring all of these groups together such that the appropriate synergies can happen. It's very difficult to divest co-op from the academic area, but it's also hard to divest co-op from employment services. So we brought everything together under one umbrella within the academic area to really provide that strong guidance, that strong leadership, and to find ways of really elevating and increasing the import and attention that the college pays to it. So that's really the plan for that unit. That's why it's been brought together. Now, the second part of that question, will there be new staffing opportunities other than the associate vice president? Within this reorg in the academic area, there are a couple of other opportunities that are opening. There are 2 new units being created within the academic area. The other one is a unit that is currently called the Global Online and Corporate Learning Unit. And so there will be an additional administrative assistant that will serve one person will serve both of those 2 units as the administrative assistant. So there's a new support position there. And we are also doing 2 fixed term administrative positions while we sort this all out. That will be business administrators, one for each of those 2 units, to really make sure that we are doing these activities in financially viable ways and to keep us moving in the right direction towards sustainability. Other opportunities may arise over time as these units grow and develop and become embedded in the fabric of existence at Algonquin. But at this point in time, those are the only additional opportunities planned. So, moving off to the next question. Colin, a heads up to you. I'm gonna turn it over to you first. I haven't heard anything about testing employees and students who are on campus, including those staying in residence. Does the college plan on testing these people? If not, why not?
At this point in time, no, there is no plans to test people on campus or in residence. We are following Ottawa Public Health guidance around testing. And there is no recommendation from Ottawa Public Health that is something that we need to do. We do incorporate that guidance into all of our materials around if people believe they have symptoms, if they are sick. We strongly encourage them to use Ottawa Public Health facilities for testing purposes, but we don't take on the testing role ourselves.
Thank you, Colin. And then the last of the pre-submitted questions, I will field this question as well. How and when will profs be compensated for redoing courses to be remote? An excellent question that yesterday I would have had a difficult time answering because we had not yet had any formal plan for what the winter term would be like. And so now that we have made that initial decision, we need to start making those plans. And I recognize that the process of going from our regular, normal, historical way of doing things last spring to remote delivery, we really ended that term in an emergency situation. So most of the winter courses that are going to be delivered remotely really do need to be prepared for that remote delivery. And so we've been through this twice. Actually, we've been through this 3 times already so far. There was the emergency adaptation to delivery at the end of the winter term. There was the preparation for the spring term, and then there was the preparation for the fall term. Each time we've had a little bit more breathing space to a little more runway to get these adaptations prepared. And this is true for the winter term as well. We have even more runway to begin those adaptations. And I believe firmly that it is best practice and certainly makes most sense to get as much of that adaptation work prior to the start of a course rather than doing it on the fly as the course is proceeding. So we will be looking at ways, and I realize this will not be possible for every course, and it may not even be possible for the majority of courses. But for those courses that we can find an equitable way of adapting during the fall term, we'll adapt that so they're ready to go for the winter term. If there's adaptation work that needs to happen during the winter term, we will follow a continuous improvement process over what we did for the fall and continue to refine that for the winter term, so that we are recognizing that there is additional real work in adapting a course to remote delivery and compensating the people that we charge with doing that work accordingly. So it will be an ever improving approach that will look much like what we did for the fall. And so with that completes our pre-submitted questions. And we will now remind you that if you have a question to ask, please use the raise hand feature, and I'll call on you at that time. The events team will unmute you. And remember, at the end, if we as we usually do, we run out of time to answer everybody's questions in the session, we still want to give you answers to all of your questions. If at that time you have not had a chance to ask your question, whether your hand is up or not, please type them into the Q&A, not the chat, the Q&A box. The events team will collect all of those questions, and the ASET team and our colleagues will provide written answers to those questions at a later time. So with that, I do see that I have 2 blue hands up, and I'm sorry I don't recognize the name. So V. Attard, it is your turn to ask a question.
Hi, Chris. My name is Veronica Tart. I wear many hats at the college. I am a support staff employee. I'm a part-time student, and I'm also part of Local 416. I have 2 questions to ask. One is for you, Chris. It's about the remote learning piece. I am trying to register for September, and the classes are at set times. Most student situations have changed post-COVID. Either they're having family care or their work situation has changed. They may not meet the targets of setting up at set times for class. Is there an alternative for those students to still participate, but may not be able to do, say, for example, an 8 to 10 on Thursday morning because of childcare or other accommodations that need to happen? So that's my first question for Chris. My second question is for Claude, and this is coming from the letter that was sent out about the reorg. Last town hall, there was announced that there's a 19 million deficit. I have a really, really hard time reconciling the announcement of 2 new assistant VPs, which are 6-figure salaries, and we have multiple people who have been impacted from COVID. To give an example, campus service has been heavily impacted by COVID, and there are going to be employees either laid off or going through the furlough process. The optics on it don't really look good, and it doesn't make me feel great as an employee. Is this the proper time to do those hirings? I know there were previous admin vacancies, but I'm pretty sure they didn't have that price tag to the salary to them. And if we're going to get out of that 19 million deficit, what's the plan? Thank you.
Thank you very much for both of your questions. Let me take mine first, and then I'll turn it over to Claude for that second piece. You raise a very good question around the remote teaching piece, and you're not alone in raising that question. For example, we have a number of international students that, due to new changing rules around how international students can participate in the first part of their courses, will actually be joining their program from their home countries. So we have students from India, we have students from China that will be joining from their host countries. So if they're joining from China, that's a 12-hour time difference. How are they going to do this if they're required to be on at a specific time? So I am encouraging, whenever possible, that faculty take this into account with their plans for delivering their courses, such that there are, if you cannot participate at that specific time, that there be reasonable alternatives, whether it's a and I'm not suggesting every faculty needs to do this. I'm saying, as an example, a faculty member may choose to create a recording of that class session and make that available at a later date for students that were unable to, for very legitimate reasons, often not attend that initial session. So I am very encouraging of faculty to please take into account the unusual times that we are in, and to do everything possible to make it to make it viable for students that have schedules that don't meet the scheduled timeline to be effectively a part of that class and to continue their learning. And if there are specific instances where that is not possible, I would suggest that a conversation with the faculty member would be in order, and that please let's try to find a solution that works for you. I do not want you in any way, shape, or form to be disenfranchised because of these current circumstances. And so, Claude, I'll turn it over to you for the second part of that question.
Okay, so the second question was in relation to the recently announced reorg, Veronica, and the reconciling of our situation from a deficit perspective, the salaries that are attached to the positions that are being created out of the reorg. So what we've indicated is that this reorg is position neutral, save for 3 positions. One is a creation of a support staff position, and 2 are fixed term admins. Fixed term admin are tied to, for the most part, to contracts and short-term horizon projects typically. The pre-reorg, we had a VP position for innovation and strategy. So, that was a higher salary than where we're landing. And another position, it'll probably go from a lower salary to a associate VP. So in my mind, one is going down, one is going up. So it's a wash from that perspective. So we're trying to make this position neutral and expense neutral as well. So that's important to us for exactly the reason that you've stated around the optics. And, given the situation that we're in, let's be clear that we don't want to shave expenses, cut expenses to try to get out of the deficit that we're in. We also need to look at revenue generation, finding innovative ways in which we can create new revenue lines. And that's partly why we've made this reorg at this time, is that we need to look at the long-term sustainability of the college and how we need to reallocate our assets in order to drive to that healthy financial future for the college. So that's the reason for the reorg at this time. It's a reorg that's been in the works for some time. That was paused at the early days of COVID, but we need to trigger it now to coincide with our revised business plan and moving forward for the future of the college. Thank you.
Thank you, Claude. Thank you, Veronica. Next up, Vicky Green. The floor is yours.
Hi, it's Vicki Green. I'm a professor and the coordinator of the social service program. Chris, my question is that since I've been back on Monday, I've had a number of conversations with our new entry students who have some questions, as well as our returning students, and also, interestingly, quite a few questions from our potential winter intake students who are hoping to be accepted. They're asking the same sort of questions about remote learning and what that's really going to mean, but they're also asking around what's going to happen as far as January. How will that information be disseminated to the students? And is it premature for me, if I'm having conversations, to be able to let them know that we will be doing remote in January? Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki. I have been hearing these questions, and they have been growing more urgent over the past weeks. And we really wanted to make sure that we had enough information to make a sound decision. And we got to that point just this morning. And so I would say, yes, please, absolutely feel free to share that the winter term will look much like the fall term does with students, prospective students, your colleagues, whomever asks. And now that a decision has been made, I will be sending out a communique, much like some of the others that I've sent out, that will outline this and make it available for the entire college community, including those that were not able to join us today. And that sort of information will be available on the website. Should prospective students look at it, and I'm quite certain that the recruiting team will have that at the forefront and be able to answer any prospective students' questions. So thanks very much for that. It's a very timely question, and I'm delighted to have the answer for you. And let's see, next up, Sean Pentacossi. And if I mispronounce your name, I am sorry.
No, thank you, Chris. It's actually Sean Pentecost. I hope you can hear me. I'm sitting in my car outside my home because I have no power and I'm working off a cell phone here. And I guess when I type my name in again, it the Y hit instead of the T. So can everybody hear me? Oh, Chris is laughing, so I'm assuming yes. Okay. So I actually have two questions, but I can just ask one now and then ask one later if there's time. My first question is, many other than full-time faculty will be receiving their teaching assignments just before classes start. Given the fact that the majority of classes will be taught remotely for the first time, it is unrealistic to expect these courses to be fully developed. What support and compensation will be available to these teachers?
Let me first state that this is one of the complicating factors of the pandemic. Having any faculty member, whether it's full-time or other than full-time, get a teaching assignment very close to the start of the term is not desirable. But the pandemic has really wreaked havoc with certain programs in staffing requirements, and so many decisions are being made much closer to the wire than any of us are comfortable with doing. And so let me acknowledge first that really apologize. This is an uncomfortable situation for everybody involved. But with that said, I guess I would put a distinction between fully adapted to remote delivery and fully developed. And so I don't know the nature of the details of your current situation, but certainly the course outline, I sincerely hope that the course outline is provided to you. If we're still at a stage that you're developing the course outline, there does need to be a conversation with your chair about the expectations for that course. If it is a matter of having a fully developed course outline, which is the foundation upon which all of the course is built, but it still needs to be adapted to a remote delivery, there is a mechanism in place already for compensation for that adaptation. in stream. Again, I mentioned that earlier. It would entirely be preferable to have that done prior to the start of the class, but we recognize that in these circumstances, it's not always possible. If you're handed a complete complete blank slate, it is a bit more of a challenge, and that's the point that you really need to have a conversation with your chair and talk about reasonable expectations. I'm going to pause there and ask if that comes close to answering your question, or did I miss the point?
No, my concern is, no, I'm a full-time faculty, so I know what's going on for us, and I've been with the college 18 years, so we always have that beginning of the year last minute stuff that I always hope we can avoid. But this year there's just those extra layers, and I've been hearing from many of my non-full-time colleagues that they're a little worried because they need to know. So what you're essentially saying is we guide them to the chair.
Guide them to the chair. Claude has spent a number of years teaching me that one of the principal, if not the principal job of the Senior Vice President Academic is to ensure quality of the learning experience for our students, quality of the programming, quality of the academics. And so I need to be taking action to ensure that we are providing high quality learning experiences for our students. And so if there are things that we need to address, if there's a course that's completely undeveloped and handed to somebody that's not familiar with the course, not familiar with the college, and told, go develop this, go teach. And it's been done to me. One of my very first teaching experiences, I was given the job a week before. They were kind enough. They handed me a textbook and they said, go teach your class. That was it. No other guidance whatsoever. It did not make for a good course. So again, it guide them to the chair, and depending on the individual circumstances, we need to take appropriate measures to ensure that we are giving every opportunity to provide a high quality learning experience for those students.
Thank you.
Annette Boozy, you're next on my list.
Hello, this is actually Judy Purett, not Annette Boozy.
Hey, Judy, sorry about that. Your name came up as Annette, so.
Hi. I'm sorry about that. I had a question for you, Chris, in terms of faculty burnout. So basically, the college has asked faculty to do more than their share during the many transitions over the course of the pandemic. What consideration has been given to faculty burnout? And that is with respect to Diane having shared that extensive list of resources, but something more than that I'm wondering right now, specifically tangible steps that the college is taking to ensure that faculty health and wellness is protected. And I'm going to come back to what you started to answer earlier on from a different question from the floor about new course preps and that they're not warranted for the transition to remote teaching.
So there's a couple of pieces to that, and I may rely on Diane to provide some additional color to my answer, but I am concerned about faculty. Likewise, I'm concerned about support staff. I'm concerned about the administrators. We have all been running at breakneck speed for quite some time, and it begins to take a toll. Claude used the word resiliency. It's a fond word of mine as well. It's the ability to keep standing back up, keep each day moving forward with a good mind and a good heart, and recognizing that we're doing just amazing work. We need to get to a point where we are moving at a pace that Yeah, I'm a former endurance athlete. We need to get out of that anaerobic into the aerobic. We need to be at a sustainable pace. And I am very hopeful that that during the fall, as we have begun to become used to, perhaps even comfortable in our adaptations to life under the COVID pandemic, that we will be getting to that point where we're able to breathe, where we're able to address problems, new problems as they come in. The adaptation work, we've tried to recognize that. We have recognized that on full-time SWIFTs. We've addressed it with other than full-time as well, recognizing that adaptation work is additional work. I acknowledge that there are different interpretations of the collective agreement, and that some folks have a strong belief that this should be recognized as a new prep. It is the policy, it is the approach that the college is taking, that it is not in accordance with the collective agreement, that this is a new prep, and that has been through a number of grievance processes that have come out that way. I don't want to get into a legalistic answer here. I want to recognize people for the work that we are assigning them to do, period. And I'm trying very hard to do that with our approach to SWIFTs. I'm trying very hard to do that with our approach to the recognition of that work for other than full-time faculty. If we are asking somebody to do work, we should be recognizing them for it and compensating for it accordingly. The disagreement as to how to go about that, there's a process for resolving that. But I will continue to recognize all employees for work that is assigned to them. And Diane, did you want to chime in at all on the resiliency piece, or was there else that you could add to that?
Certainly, thanks, Chris. Certainly your answer to Judy's question was very comprehensive. The only thing that I would have to add is we're in this for the long haul. This is a marathon, this is not a sprint. And you know, the protection of, as Judy had said, the health and wellness of our faculty, and it is something that we all care about, and that we're all turning our mind to it. And as Chris had said, some of the provisions that the college has done is to recognize some of the additional course adaptation on the SWIFTs. But again, please be mindful of your own health and wellness. And all that I would like to chime in on is that those employee supports are there for everyone. And so if you are needing that, that's what you take advantage of. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Judy. Moving on to the next question, Jeremy.
Hello, Chris and panel. How are you?
Hello. Fabulous. How are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. Not a question, but I thought I would take a few minutes for some thank yous, if that's okay. I wanted to, on behalf of the course material services team, thank all of the faculty and support staff and chairs and deans who worked tirelessly through May and June and then into summer leaves, the annual leave period, to successfully complete the fall course planning process, which really gives our team an incredible opportunity to do magical things for our learners. And one of those things that we have been able to do, and I'm very excited to share with the group today on this call, is that effective immediately, Course Material Services is matching publisher pricing on all digital resources to ensure that as many learners do not have to carry an extra financial burden to learn abroad or at home because they can't get to campus to find alternative material. I also want to just recognize the work that our campus partners, our retail partners in Pembroke and Perth and Ottawa are doing with curbside pickup, click and collect, and shipping to ensure that those students that are choosing physical products are still getting kits and learning material in fantastic time. So not a question, but an opportunity to use the platform to thank the community for that persistence. We will be turning our mind to winter adoption soon, and we hope to add even more process improvements to recognize that we're just trying to get material to students in a timely, cost-effective manner. So thank you to the college for the ongoing support.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. And yeah, again, excellent work. It's good to hear. Thank you. And moving off to David Haley. How are you today, David? What can I do for you?
Okay, can you hear me, Chris?
Yes, I can.
Okay, that's great. So I'm going to ask you a question wearing my first vice president of the academic union hat. I had sent this to you earlier today, but I know you were very busy and you couldn't answer the question. So I'd like to confirm the minimum requirements for remote delivery of courses, as there seems to be some varying standards across the college. Now, the common standard I'm hearing is the mandatory use of Brightspace, which makes sense because it's our resident LMS. I believe the confusion, however, lies around the use of Zoom, Microsoft Teams, or other video platforms. So is it mandatory college requirement for faculty to use video conferencing technology or remote delivery of courses, or are faculty just encouraged to do so as applicable? Thank you.
Well, and thank you for that question, David. I did see it, and I had actually been looking to get a little bit of better language and good words from my colleague Maggie Kusan. She has provided me with an answer, and let me share part of that with you. She's not listed as a panelist, or I just turn the question over to her. But you're right. There is a policy around.
She is there. She is there as a panelist.
Oh, is she there as a panelist? Can we unmute Maggie? I don't think we can. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Maggie, thank you.
Sure. I had the option to stay muted. I could have just played possum there. Yeah, so thank you for the question. I did provide a response to Chris, and hopefully that full response goes to you, David, but there hasn't been a minimum standard set for the use of Zoom. And just to say, there's a lot of variability. I think Chris really articulated well what fall looks like. We have a number of courses that are taking place on campus. We have portions of courses that are taking place on campus. We have full courses being delivered remotely, and so much variation across the board between our programs. And so we wanted to give faculty really the flexibility to determine what that delivery plan looked like. And Chris articulated there were program teams who met for months trying to make determinations about how programs and specific courses were to be delivered. So to say that Zoom is not mandatory, we are encouraging it though, and you'll see through the Learning and Teaching Services training, we offer a tremendous amount of Zoom and Brightspace training. So yes, we want you to avail yourself of all the tools available to you to be able to provide an engaging learning experience for students. We encourage you to use Zoom. We encourage you to record those Zoom sessions and make those available to students so that students do have the flexibility to be able to watch those and rewatch those when they need to in and around their own life circumstances. We do offer MS Teams as well. There's a number of different educational technologies available to faculty, but we leave that to the discretion of faculty to determine what's best for their particular courses.
Okay, thank you very much.
Let me chime in and just to flesh out one thing that Maggie didn't say, but I think you did, David. We do have and I had started with this, we do have a policy around the learning management system and its use. The college has one and only one authorized learning management system, and that is Brightspace. So there are expectations from students and from the college that will be the portal that is used to access the course, the communication between, sorry, that's my phone quacking at me telling me I have a text. communication between the faculty member and the student. It's that foundational piece upon which everything else is built. And as a matter of fact, one of the Students Association's priorities this year is to work with the college, to work with faculty, to find a way to have a standard front end for Brightspace, a standard way of using Brightspace, so that students are more comfortable and more easily able to navigate through the course materials posted on Brightspace. So that will be an ongoing conversation this year as we work with our SA partners on that process. But as Maggie said, the use of technology is how is that best used to meet the needs of all of the learners in that course. We leave that up to the faculty member. So thank you for that, David. And I will be sending you that response when I have a few minutes at some point to get that all together. And so then I'll move to Jill Reeves. Welcome.
Do it. There we go.
All good.
Hi, thank you very much. Two quick questions. One is, in light of this new information about winter, for those of us who purchased a parking pass beginning in January, might there be an opportunity to renegotiate that? And then secondly, some time ago, the college sent a survey out to students about their learning experience in the face of the pandemic, and I just wondered where we might access the results of that survey.
Sorry, I'm going to stop my phone from quacking. Parking pass. Who gets that one? Dwayne, are you able to deal with parking pass?
Yes, I am, Chris.
Very good.
Good question, Jill. When we set the parking rates for the year, we made assumptions about a month or two ago when we released that communication, and we're going to have to revisit those assumptions and the rates. We want to be fair to our employees and our students in terms of parking and how we set fees for the rates. So we'll likely be revisiting that early in the fall term.
Thank you, Dwayne. I was trying to give Mark Leduc a heads up that I was going to turn to him for this one. Mark, can you answer the question around the survey to students?
Yep, most definitely, Chris.
Thank you.
Hey, hi, Jill. Yeah, so for the student experience survey for spring 2020 term, we do have the survey results compiled. What we're going through right now is the open text boxes from those students. And as you can imagine, there's quite a bit of responses coming back. So we're trying to use some text analytics to create some themes from them. So most likely at some point, I would say probably in the next week or so, we'll probably be able to publicize those for the college community. So it will be coming shortly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And there we go. Good, another hand coming up. Mr. McGregor, Gordon, what can I do for you today?
There we go. Unmuted. I have a question. Basically, it's understanding that like remote learning has been around for a very long time. It's nothing new, okay? And a lot of the faculty have done their master's credentials remotely. So my question is there going to be an emphasis on hiring faculty that have credentials in distance learning using technology? For example, having, say, a master's ed in distance and technology. That's my question.
Thank you very much. I was trying to unmute myself and then I realized I was unmuted. I do that often. Thanks for that. It's a great question. And it gives me an opportunity to reiterate something that we've said before. Yeah, the whole concept of necessity is the mother of invention. You're right. Distance learning has been around for a long time. But there has also been a continuing and growing body of research on how to do this effectively. Technology has changed dramatically since distance learning first began. Remote delivery, recognizing that there's a difference still between remote delivery and a fully developed online course, and that we are still expecting a remotely delivered course rather than a fully developed from scratch online course. And so with where we're at, we're learning a lot of new stuff. We're finding some things that work really, really well. There have been some adaptations. There have been some, and an adaptation does not simply mean taking something that used to be delivered face-to-face and putting it into a PowerPoint slide that you can share with students. There are many rich solutions. There have been, I know of some of the electrical students. We developed kits, or the program developed kits that were provided to the students that they can take that kit to their home and do all of those remote, all of those applied learning activities with the components of that kit while still under the instruction of a faculty member. That's still remotely delivered. That's not an online course. And so there isn't a one size fits all. So as we learn these things, as we find what works really well and what doesn't work as well, we are going to be continuing to make improvements. The quality of the experience for students, I am hopeful in winter, at least it's my goal and I'm working toward this, will be better for students in winter than it was in the fall, as I'm hoping the work that we've done to prepare for the fall will make it better than it was for the spring. So all of that put together, we will someday come out the other side of this pandemic. We don't know when yet. There are some hopeful signs. There's some progress being made by those pesky scientists. I'm a scientist, that indicate that vaccines are on the horizon that will provide us with at least a significantly higher level of protection. When that happens, we will revert to having more and more activity on our campuses. When we come back to that, we don't want to throw out all of those things that are actually working really well. And in some cases, there are things that are working better now than they were before because of the creativity and energy that have been put into these learning activities. So I anticipate that even when we come back to our campuses in larger and significant ways, the way we deliver our education is going to be different. So as we move into those periods, you raise an excellent point. We're going to need to look at our workforce, at the needs of the workforce. What are the skills that the faculty for this new environment need? And please note that I'm not looking simply at new faculty that we hire, but our existing faculty. These are our precious resource. This is who the college is. And we need to be working with those faculty so that they have opportunities to grow and to learn and to develop those skills that are going to be necessary moving forward. That's in part what Learning and Teaching Services does, but there are many other avenues for us to do this as well. So you're right. We need to be looking at what are the skill sets that we need for this new world that we're going to be entering into. It's probably a little bit premature to be making decisions around full-time hires now. Do we need that new skill set to get us through the pandemic? It's a little premature for that, but looking forward to what's going to happen when we come out of the pandemic, absolutely. Spot on, we're going to need to look at that. Great question. Thank you. And with that, I'll turn back to who I believe is Judy. Judy Prick?
No, this is actually Annette.
It isn't. You folks are trying to mess with my mind. Thank you.
So
sorry.
I'm faculty in the School of Business and also president of the Faculty Local Union. I have two questions, both for Claude Brulé. So the first is, the pandemic has clearly shown us that the college has an over-reliance on revenue from international students. So what plans does the college have, both short and long term, to address the issue? And the second is the college has made several administrative statements about its commitment to standing against prejudices in all of its forms. What we'd like to know is what tangible steps is the college going to take to operationalize these ideas so that they become more than just words or a policy?
Okay, thank you, Annette. And it is Annette, not Judy, right? No, just kidding. I don't even know how you did that. Anyway, so yes, reliance on international students. I mean, it's it is a fact in the post-secondary system. It's not unique to Algonquin College. Algonquin College's reliance on international students enrollment or recruitment is less significant than many of our sister institutions in Ontario and indeed across Canada. What we've learned is that we're able to attract international students and have them start their programming in their home country. So it's not all doom and gloom that we are going to be extremely impacted by international students not being able to join us because of borders being closed or travel being restricted. We're still going to be able to connect with other learners from other parts of the world and perhaps start their education in a different manner than we have in the past. I think it's important that we have an appropriate mix in our student body, in our audience. The richness that it brings to Algonquin, to Ottawa, is phenomenal. And we would not have some of the programming that we have if it was simply made up with a domestic audience. We've been able to create programming that thrives because of the mixed audience that we have. I realize at this point that, and you saw the slide deck from Mark Leduc earlier on, our incoming level 1 international audience is going to be less than we had projected. And yes, absolutely, that's going to be an impact on our bottom line. I think where we need to land from I think where your question is going is, it's not so much the reliance, is how do we square that round peg into that square hole, if you wish, is how do we make that equilibrium of that equation. And I think that's going to require participation from all of our employees to figure out, okay, where is that new equilibrium? Where is that new normal for ensuring that the delta between our expenses and our revenue does not continue to grow? That's really the key. It's not so much one audience versus another. It's making sure we don't create a gap that keeps growing every year between a revenue and expenses. And you'll see it as part of our business plan, our revised business plan for 2021. Our VP Finance and Administration, Dwayne McNair, has introduced an initiative to address this, to look at that gap and look at an exercise to return to sustainability for the college. And Dwayne, maybe correct me there, but I think we said by 2023 or around there, right? So, yeah. So I fully appreciate that. Yes, we have a reliance. It's a reliance on which we depend financially. It's dampened because we don't use that entire set of revenue from international to feed our operation. Some colleges do. They're in a lot different position than we are. We have apportioned only that which is part of the academic delivery back to the academic area, and the rest we put in our strategic investment priority as a way to fund future projects or future objectives of the college. There's 3 things we put in that bucket. Part of international revenue, contract, and ancillary services revenue. That generates this account for strategic investment priority, and out of that, then we can pay for capital things that help us build our future. So that's really where we're trying to go, is realign the expenses and the revenue. Sorry, long answer, but The answer is we're trying to address that reliance in a way that sees to our financial health and our financial future. Your second question is in relation to what we see in terms of systemic racism in all parts of the world. And, I didn't bring it in my opening remarks again, because I felt it was going to be a replay of the same remarks I made, several town halls ago with the death of George Floyd in the States. And here we go again. Another event that sickens us, that really continues to damage the relationship that we're trying to have with all of our employees, all of society. Things are not getting any better south of the border. And, we've made commitments at Algonquin College related to equity, diversity, and inclusion. We've created a blueprint or a plan that is not just words, but it's a series of actions on a yearly basis that will allow us to move our agenda, move our strategy forward relative to those three elements: equity, diversity, and inclusion. And there are a number of events, and there's a number of actions that have already been taken, and we'll continue to promote what we're doing as a college to continue to champion true equity, true diversity, and inclusion at Algonquin College. There's definitely more we could do, absolutely. And it's in occasions like this in town halls, perhaps forming advisory bodies, working groups, where those opportunities for new suggestions can come out. We're going to be doing a new strategic plan this year. This is perhaps the start of a new conversation where we infuse some of these ideas into what the future of the college would look like by baking them into our new strategic plan. So nothing's written in stone. We're open to suggestion, and I would certainly welcome those. And I'd like to have Diane also, if she wants to add a few commentaries related to our EDI plan.
Thanks, Claude, for that comprehensive answer. You've left me little to actually add to it, with the exception of I've been privileged to attend numerous inclusion and fusion events over the summer, and also Ron's events of Lighting the Fire, where it allows us the opportunity to really learn, and that is what we will do the best at, is provide learning opportunities for all our college community. If we can't talk about these issues, if we can't learn about these issues, where else would we be able to go but actually be able to learn about it at a higher educational institution? So it becomes incredibly important. And I was privileged to also attend one that Maggie, I believe you co-hosted with your group, and it was really focused on how do we deal with some of the learning opportunities that our international students are experiencing, and that how do we bring that into what we do in the classroom, and how we kind of help offset some issues and barriers that are being raised, and it goes to the same conversation, and it goes to our learning. And so that's really what we're focusing on, is we're focusing on education and learning opportunities for all of us so that we become better allies. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
All right. Moving on. Let's see. Next on my list, Leslie Wyman. You have a question.
Yep. Hi, Chris. My question is actually about class size. During labs, usually, maybe you have a maximum of 50 students in the labs. But now with remote learning, it seems that the loading of students in sections is increasing. So perhaps a lab now has 70, when normally if we're on campus, it would be 50. So a class of 70 in that kind of room, remote or not, is fairly challenging. So I'm just wondering about that. Like, why are class sizes increasing on classes that on campus would have been maxed out because of space?
That's a good question. I don't know that I have an answer to this. It had not been brought to my attention that we were dramatically increasing the size of sections. Is there anyone that can provide some insight into that at this point? This may be one, Leslie, that I'm going to have to say I get back to you on.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't have a strong answer for you, Claude.
Yeah, I was just like clarifying, Leslie, are you saying on campus, or are those the class that is taught remotely which?
Yeah, so normally the class would be on campus with a restricted number, like a maximum number because of space when you're on campus, like in a computer lab, for example.
Yeah.
But now that it's remote, the sections are being loaded much higher than what would have been if you were in the classroom. So I'm just wondering.
Okay. Okay.
That.
Yeah, Chris, I'll help you with that. Krista Pearson, our registrar, the loading's done at the departmental level, but we'll have the stats. And so we'll definitely follow up and look into that and make sure we get back to you.
Yep. Thanks, Leslie. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. And I'll get back to you. Today's Wednesday. I'll definitely get back to you by Friday on that. Next question, Robert Harvey.
Okay, sorry, I had to unmute.
No
So
worries.
this question is the follow-up to Annette's, and this is for both Claude and Diane. And that is, our executive team is basically all white. And we have a plan and we have this, and yes, and we feel badly about what's going on. But are you prepared to commit that the next two executive positions, that one of them will be to a visible minority?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's, we've made it clear in our disclaimers on all our hiring that we don't discriminate. And, for us, it's providing an environment that people feel comfortable applying. People need to be able to apply to these positions in order for us to consider them. And I think I've mentioned this the last time we were on this topic, is that we need to do more than just say, yeah, if we have, two excellent candidates, we want to be able to present forward a candidate that allows us to have that representation at our table. But people need to be part of the applicant pool that you want to consider to start with. So I think it's important for us as steps that we make it conducive for people to feel they belong, feel that they can grow within the organization, and can apply to these positions so that we can consider them for these positions at the executive, at the leadership team. So absolutely, we want to do that. We just need the talent to come forward.
Diane, you're coming in and out. I didn't know if you wanted to add to that or if...
I wasn't sure if you needed me to add to anything. My perspective on that, thank you so much, Rob, for that question. I think it's a great question. And I know I'm working with the talent team within HR. We are doing a lot of reach outs to different groups in order to be able to make sure that our postings are getting out in the community, in the right communities, that it's broad. And so going to Claude's comment about making sure that we are getting a broad range of candidates, of applicants, is key. And so it's no longer that we just posted on our website. This is active recruitment where we're getting it out to the right areas and the right communities, and just making sure that we have those applications that come in from all different types of backgrounds, and that we encourage that. And then it's also about, as Claude mentioned, making sure that we have a retention plan, because it's great to be able to attract candidates, qualified candidates from diverse backgrounds. But if we're not an inclusive environment, we won't keep them. And that becomes incredible. And going back to what we were talking about with Annette's question, we need to make sure that our community is one that's inclusive. I'm just going to quote a wonderful comment that I heard actually in Lighting the Fire session, where one of the guest speakers spoke about, diversity is a reality, but inclusion is a choice. And to me, that is what we want to stand for at the college. So I completely commend the fact that you asked that question. And I would love to be able to say conclusively yes. But again, it goes back to we want to make sure that we are spreading our story and the competition postings as broad as possible. Thanks, Rob, for that question.
Thank you indeed. The last question that I see with a hand up, Marianne Sullivan. Your question, Marianne.
Hi. Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sorry. I'm a faculty member. I think my biggest challenge right now is in trying to put my course content together. I have a laptop that only has one USB port, and I currently have a requirement for 4 USB ports. So as well, my laptop is not super sophisticated, so it tends to be very slow going between, a PowerPoint and OBS and like just back and forth between the different technologies, the webcam and so on that I'm using to design and develop my content. Is there any intention to allow faculty to upgrade to a slightly more sophisticated laptop with maybe multiple USBs as we've had in the past, instead of the ones we're currently using, which only have one USB right now?
I'm going to start that with Dwayne.
Yeah, that's a great question. Unfortunately, I don't have an answer on that right now. We would, our ITS group does set the standards for college laptops, and my understanding is they consult with Learning and Teaching Services so that we're gaining the input from what the faculty needs are. But that's something I'll have to take that away and get back to all of you with a response.
And Marianne, that's an important question. Please don't let that drop. When Dwayne gets back with an answer, I also suggest a conversation with your chair to make sure that you've got the necessary technology that's really required for these current circumstances. And so with that, there are no other. Oh, Claude?
Yeah, there's something in the chat from a couple of people that talk about either port extenders or anyway, there's some hints there, some advice useful for people in the chat.
Oh, very good. Thanks. I hadn't seen the chat. So Marianne, take a look at that, but also wait for a reply from Dwayne. And as I said, don't let the technology prevent you from doing what's necessary. So we'll help you find a solution for that one. Oh, all right. Another hand has just come up. So let's move off to Ahmed.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. I'm just calling here I'm not calling, I'm just making a comment for Marianne. Marianne, we are here in the ELX Center in C123. We are here to help all the staff members that have any issues with their technology. We can give you laptops that have at least 3 USB here. So if you want to shop, or anybody who have any staff member has technological issues or challenge with their equipment, with their laptops, please come and see us. We're here Monday to Friday from 8 to 5 in C123.
Thank you very much. Helpful as always. Much appreciated. All right, we are getting to that time where we're going to begin to wrap up. There aren't any other blue hands up. I do note that there are a number of questions that have come in the Q&A, and I'd like to remind folks that if they still have a question they want to ask, please type it into the Q&A. and the executive team and our teams will in short order provide written responses to all of those questions. So again, thank you, everybody. Great questions. Hopefully you've gotten some good informative answers. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Claude.
Thank you, Chris. It's been a great afternoon. You have lots of questions. It's great to hear the various perspective you bring, and bringing those to the forefront is so important. It's like in class, you know, the one student that puts their hand up, there are probably 10 students that have the same questions and just too shy to ask it. And so I want to thank everyone that has brought forward a question or a comment, because I'm pretty sure out of, well, we had almost 500 attendees, there were probably 10 other people that had the same thought, the same question, and you're helping others in the process. So thank you for bringing those forward. In some cases, we need to get back to you. We may not have had a complete answer for you, and we will endeavor to do that in the coming days, as well as the questions that are being put in the Q&A, so that we provide you with those answers that you're looking for to your questions. Again, we're still in very uncharted territories. We are in the stage 3 of the recovery, with a pandemic that does not have a cure, a vaccine, or a way to abate. And so we're really relying on everyone's behavior, everyone's adherence to the guidelines that have been put forward, so that we can see to a continued decrease of the transmission of the virus and a return to an eventual normal of our activities. Until then, this situation could stay the way it is. As you'll notice, for the last 3 weeks, Ontario has been hovering around 100 cases a day. It could diminish this fall, and many pundits suggest that it will go the other way because of the colder weather, people being indoors. It's likely that we're going to see more cases. So it really is upon all of us to do all we can to minimize the risk of transmission. And we've done so by minimizing the presence on campus, by ensuring that we do as much as we can remotely in order to do our part during this pandemic. So I applaud you for your effort. I applaud you again for your resilience. And I know we've talked about employee burnout. We've talked about the stamina it takes to continue to fight the fatigue that this pandemic is creating. And we have support available to you if you need it, and do not hesitate to utilize it. It's absolutely important that we are at our best at work, and that we are at our best for our learners, so that we can give them, as I said in the beginning, the best possible college experience that we can during these challenging times. So again, thank you for your commitment, your engagement, and your great questions. And as I said, we'll continue to move forward, answer those questions, and plow everything that we learn into our operations, so that we are as safe as we can be for the fall. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Claude. Let's see, and now to wrap things up, I will turn it over to my friend and colleague, Ron McCluster.
Well, I think that Claude really bundled things together in a way that is reflective of our normal closing. I don't have the ability or the language really to do the closing in the language. It's something I aspire to, but when we do that, we acknowledge coming together, we acknowledge putting good intention and a good mind into the work that we do. We remind ourselves that we're only here because of the people that came before us, the sacrifices, the blood, the sweat, the tears that they put into their good work for the community. We aspire to do that kind of work ourselves, and so that we can prepare a better, brighter, and healthy, good-minded future for those that come after us. So with that, we acknowledge everybody and their contribution. We aspire to cultivate and share the good mind, and we wish you all peace, safety, and health. So with that, yawan ko kasno halado ang niguhage danito.
Have a good afternoon, everybody.